This is going to be good, guys. Trump and Mike Johnson are making some big moves in Congress right now. And in order to advance Trump's agenda, they're looking to remove almost every single Democrat from all the leadership positions in the subcommittees in Congress. Because, guys, this is crazy. As we have no idea how fully just complex Congress is, where Democrats, if they lead certain subcommittees, things won't even be brought to the floor if there's a Democrat that doesn't want it to be brought to the floor in a certain department or for a certain subject in Congress. House Republicans, though, and Mike Johnson and Trump are plotting, and they're getting rid of all the Democrats off all the panels so that they can expedite Trump's agenda. This is beautiful because, again, too, we saw it. They said after the incidents at Trump's congressional speech, they are using and going to use that to help advance removing all the Democrats from the panels, from the leadership positions in the subcommittees, citing unethical practices towards their congressional positions. So with that, this is huge. This means that things can move forward a lot faster. And not only that, guys, more great news. Todd Blanche, the same guy who was a Trump's attorney during the New York trial, well, guess what? He's just been named the deputy attorney general. So right under Pam Bondi. Well, you know it's taken Pam Bondi some time to fire some people, which I don't know why. It took Todd Blanche less than 1 hour to start clearing house in the DOJ. And he's already fired the person who is the pardon attorney general that Biden hired that did all those dumb preemptive pardons. Yeah, he's already gotten rid of him like that. And more firings are to come. He said, I am not holding back. These people were corrupt, and I saw it firsthand. This is beautiful. On top of that, we do got some new news on the Epstein files that the people in charge of prosecuting Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, the prosecutors involved, have all been fired. Allegedly, they were involved in some form or fashion with Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. I mean, everybody's corrupt, guys. This is blowing my mind. So they've all been fired, who were literally the prosecutors over those cases, and now new investigations are happening into those people. It's crazy how deep this rabbit hole is going. We also have it where the Defense Department has begun staffing cuts and has 31,000 people forced them to resign. And the Canada tariff war is getting real, guys. And it's getting even worse where Trump, he put out a post today, and this guy's not a happy camper. 80% of Canada's economy relies on the U.S., while less than 10%, I think it's 4 or 5% of the U.S. economy relies on Canada. Well, Trump put out a post and said that Canada is cheating the American people, and it's going to stop, and Canada is going to feel it. So this is huge, guys. Wonderful, wonderful news that we're getting. Transparency, people finally getting fired, and GOP is finally growing a backbone to get things done for Trump. Want to say, everybody, thank you so much for watching. To all of our subscribers, to all of our viewers. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And thank you to everybody that is a member of the channel. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join, guys. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation. Want to give some love to Ron Cisney. Y'all show Ron some love in the chat, guys. And if you don't mind doing us a favor of hitting that thumbs up like button, y'all are the best True Life News chat on YouTube, guys. I love this. Things are happening. House Republicans are finally getting a backbone. I'm not going to say the other thing, but they're getting a backbone to do what needs to be done to advance Trump's agenda. And I love it because it's so blatant. Check this out.
Here is one of the best secretaries I've seen in a long time. Dan, it's only been a month. I've got enough of a sample size to roll with at this point. She's been doing a great job, Caroline Levitt. Here she is talking about the Democrats sitting on their hands for this when they had a golden opportunity for a rapprochement with America on the issue. Nice fancy SAT word. Get up and just pretend to clap. Check this out.
Last night was a very clarifying moment for our country. The Democrats exposed themselves as the party of insanity and hate, the party that wants to put America last. They've allowed their Trump derangement syndrome to stop them from celebrating America and our people, and we will not allow them to forget that.
So thankfully, let's see if these guys see what I'm doing here. They're like, Dan, don't mess around. It's our first day in the new studio. I love messing around, and I can't stop. There was a Minnesota state rep who stepped up for the Democrats. Wouldn't you agree, fellas? She was like, I'm going to bring some sanity back to this. This is clearly not the right approach to take. Guys, let's speak out clearly. Women deserve their own spaces in sports. There are biological differences. So, fellas, thank you for cutting this. Don't you agree? Stepped up, right? Everybody give a round of applause. Minnesota, this is Minnesota State Rep Alicia Kozlowski. So stepping up, trying to moderate the Democrat position that somehow men should be in women's sports. And thank you for putting this in the show. And thank you, Rep Alicia Kozlowski, for doing the right thing, not the easy thing. Play that cut.
Make no mistake that this is just another version of state-sanctioned bullying and genocide. And I don't say that loudly.
Of course,
What?
we were kidding. There is no moderate voice on this issue. It is bullying and state-sanctioned genocide. How exactly is that? Do you care to line that out with some data? Because you use that word. It's a very sensitive word to me. I hear genocide. We want to fix that problem real quick. Kind of curious what data you have to back that up. So stopping a man from smashing a ball into a young girl's face and breaking her nose and giving her a brain injury is somehow genocide. Folks, the reason the left continues to do this is because there's money in it.
Yep, that's where it's at.
Gerrymandering, the way the congressional districts are carved up, it actually, you profit, at least your campaign coffers do, from engaging in radicalism. You do. And the base of the Democrat Party is very powerful when it comes to this magnetic pull over to their side. Gerrymandering's got a lot to do with it. I think social media has a lot to do with it. No one wants to be crushed on Twitter, so they don't want to say anything because they feel like if they say anything, they'll become the target of everybody's ire on Twitter. However, censorship is still a bedrock portion of this radical far-left approach, and it's a damn shame because this is no way to move forward in a free constitutional republic. Globalists love this too. I want you to listen to this. Here is UN Chief Antonio Guterres. A free speech on social media basically must be stopped because if we show you clips like this and women getting hit in the face with volleyballs and smashed as men are spiking volleyballs in their face, then it may kind of turn the public against them. So what's the solution? Ban it, censorship. Check this out.
Digital platforms are being misused to subvert science and spread disinformation and hate to billions of people. This clear and present global threat demands clear and coordinated global action. Our policy brief on information integrity on digital platforms puts forward a framework for a concerned international response.
Every time with the censorship. What is with this globalist crowd and censorship? What are you so afraid of? You afraid that me and Justin, by the way, Justin's on X now too. I saw that the other day. Got like all this professional photo. You're afraid we're actually going to expose you for you? Here's another one they don't want out there. This is excellent Congressman Tim Burchett, right? Asking a question about tax dollars funding terror. See, if this is the kind of thing, if you're not doing it, you're not worrying about censoring it because you're not doing it. But if our tax dollars are funding terrorism, the only way to stop people from figuring out, how is it, guys? Is to censor it. Notice we don't have this problem. I hate censorship. Watch this exchange. This is the kind of stuff they don't want you to see. Check this out.
Mr. Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Hamzi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria.
Dang.
Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
You don't have to censor that stuff if it's not happening. Justin, why? Because it's not happening. So there's nothing to censor.
Guys, that is about as bad as it gets. Again, we have more of these globalist elites thinking that they can come into the United States and try to force us to be censored, and it's all a bunch of you-know-what. Josie, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Josie some love in the chat. House Republicans are kicking Democrats off panels. Why? Because they want to advance Trump's agenda. But this is the beautiful part, guys, that the more that they do this, they have the majority votes to do it, the harder it'll be to get these people back on. The beautiful thing is that the next part is when we put the right people in place like this, Attorney General Todd Blanche, the same guy who represented Trump in the New York trials, is now the deputy attorney general, second under Pam Bondi. Now, I don't know what the heck is going on with Pam Bondi, but this guy is already firing people like crazy. And if you appreciate that, guys, do us a favor and hit that thumbs up like button. We appreciate your support. This is amazing because no matter what, we know there's corruption in there. We know that there's people that need to be fired. Why hasn't Pam Bondi done it? I don't know. But look at this. Todd Blanche gets there and then within an hour fires DOJ's pardon attorney hired by Biden. And more firings are to come. Todd Blanche, this dude, not only fought for Trump big time, but I truly believe he's going to fight for the American people and getting Trump's agenda done. And that means cleaning house and removing a lot of the fraud, waste, and abuse of certain people within the federal government. Thank you so much, Queen of Yeshua, for the super chat. Said, why is Dan Bongino taking so long to work with Cash? Well, he has a date. March 17th is his first day as the deputy FBI director. So, yeah, we only got a few more days with him. Y'all show Queen of Yeshua some love in the chat. Check this out.
Back to DOGE. I think, and just to connect dots, I want to tie together Wednesday on Capitol Hill, because this is important for you to know, with the Thursday meeting of the cabinet. And Wednesday on Capitol Hill, you got to remember, the polling showing, particularly as some of these things get more dramatic, and the media blows it up, of course they do, that some of the polling looks like it's not the best. And President Trump's had great polling. But I would say that Elon has gone from a heat shield to maybe actually, someone that's actually driving numbers. I don't want to say an anchor or a lodestone. It's not that yet, but it's trending. That is starting to affect everybody. So when it goes to Capitol Hill on Wednesday to the Senate lunch and then to the Hill to that nighttime meeting, the people are looking for specifics, as we have been on the show. Mm-hmm. It's like, you've been doing this now for 7 weeks. We're not looking for a final. We know you got a long way to go. And we're glad you're talking about the post office going public, spinning it off, and the Amtrak. But quite frankly, we can do that, or we can think that through. We need you there for the waste, fraud, and abuse. That you're the shock troops. You're like the 82nd Airborne on D-Day. You're going in the night before, going behind enemy lines, and you're finding this stuff out. But we need to know where this is coming out, because we got this ticking time bomb called a CR that we have to do, and we would love to attach some numbers to it.
I do, but remember what they're trying to do in this administration. I mean, President Trump campaigned on the fact that he's going to hire Elon Musk and DOGE, and they're going to lay waste to the federal government's waste, fraud, and abuse. And I don't think that the American people or anyone really expected Elon Musk to be able to move this quickly. I mean, he, within days, was ripping the sign off of USAID. And so, of course, you're seeing an unprecedented lawfare challenge to this, because President Trump won the White House. We won back the Senate. We kept the House. The only place where these Democrats have to go now is to the courts. And they're bringing dozens of lawsuits to these activist judges all over the country. And so, it's because of the unprecedented moves that President Trump is making with these executive orders with DOGE to fulfill his campaign promises, and the unprecedented number of lawsuits in response, it would be hard for any fully staffed Justice Department to keep up, let alone a Justice Department at the very beginning that is stacked with Democrats, right? And so I don't want to lay blame on anyone's doorstep because it's just unprecedented.
I'm also not trying. I'm not trying to blame, but I guess what you're saying is, hey, you got Days of Thunder. We had a couple of years to work through where we want to go policy wise. We had a longer time to work on the executive orders. They were tighter, but as their counter is with lawfare again. The scale of it, you're saying we're just going to have to figure out how to scale up. I guess on the counterattack is what you're saying. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, regularly. I went and met her last week in her office for over an hour. She's on top of her game. She just needs help. The Senate just confirmed Todd Blanche yesterday, the Deputy Attorney General. Look, the Senate's actually, I want to give John Thune credit for this. We gave him a bunch of crap early on about, giving the Senate an attitude adjustment. But after we gave these senators an attitude adjustment, they've actually been confirming these nominees at a record pace. It just takes a long time. I ran the nominations for the Justice Department when I was the chief counsel for nominations back in 2017. It takes a long time. It took 18 months last time to confirm Jeff Clark to be Assistant Attorney General at the Justice Department. We're getting ready to confirm Gail Slater, the Assistant Attorney General for Antitrust, next Tuesday, right? So they are moving fast. It just naturally takes a long time to staff up, but they're actually moving at a record pace. And then while they're getting staffed up at a record pace, you have President Trump, who is ready to govern on day one. And he is just coming out and throwing haymakers with these executive orders. And then you have the nerds at DOGE who are like autistic and remarkably smart, are figuring out ways with their coding nerd stuff that they're doing that they're just ripping apart these agencies. And so we've never seen anything this. And so I guess my message is it's going to be a bumpy road here for the next several months until they're fully staffed up, but it's worth it.
So how quickly do you think that we actually end up there, and how quickly do you think the Supreme Court acts on this? Let's say they go to the impoundment in 30 days. So how long do you think this takes?
I think that you're going to have an active Democrat activist judge do a temporary restraining order, probably ex parte, nationwide injunction immediately. They'll go to one of these whack job judges in D.C. or Sheldon Whitehouse's buddy up in Rhode Island or some other left-wing judge, and then it should get to the Supreme Court quickly. And it really depends on if the Chief Justice and Justice Amy Coney Barrett are actually going to follow the Constitution and allow the duly elected president of the United States to carry out his electoral mandates and go after waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal government, or if they're going to come up with excuses procedurally to prevent that from happening. If they're going to say, for example, that these bogus TROs that these activist judges are issuing, they're illegal, they're unconstitutional, and they're not even temporary restraining orders. They're not even TROs. They are preliminary injunctions with nationwide, with nationwide effect. If the Supreme Court's going to say that those aren't appealable because they're TROs, they're going to allow these Democrat activist litigants and judges to play that game, then they're going to hobble the presidency. And here's the bigger problem, and I mean that.
Guys, and you know how messed up that is, that any federal judge, literally, across the United States, in any state, can literally stop things that Trump is doing. It literally makes no sense that they have that amount of power, and then Trump and his administration have to appeal it, and then it goes to the Supreme Court. We're really learning a lot about how our country is really run, but it shows you there's a lot of stuff that can be stopped, even with Trump and the mandate that he has.
You're already seeing the American people get very frustrated with these activist judges. If the Supreme Court does not stop this, if they don't step up and stop these activist judges from sabotaging the President of the United States exercising core Article 2 executive power to take care that our laws are faithfully executed, to make sure that our foreign aid under the Commander-in-Chief clause doesn't go to Hamas terrorists, when the court loses its legitimacy with the American people, it doesn't have an army. The court does not have an army. It does not have an enforcement mechanism. It has to rely on the executive branch to enforce its orders. And so if it loses its legitimacy, it's going to lose everything. So I hope the Chief Justice and Justice Amy Coney Barrett understand how grave this is. If they don't stop these activist judges from sabotaging the president's Article 2 executive powers. Trump is not stealing legislative power under Article 1 from Congress. He's not stealing judicial power from the Supreme Court under Article 3. These federal judges are sabotaging the president of the United States over policy and political disagreements, and this is unacceptable. This is a red line, and the Chief Justice needs to stop it.
Yeah, and that's the worst part about it, is that you're getting really, really left-wing judges that are coming in and basically dictating how things need to be whenever we know that they're so partisan. And just want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, guys. If you don't mind clicking that, doing us a favor and clicking the thumbs up like button. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sweetie, for the super chat. Let's go. Said, I love your channel. I know when you come on, you will have the great things to tell us. You are the best. Aw, thank you so much. Y'all show Sweetie some love in the chat. So Trump came out with this post, everybody. Canada is cheating the United States farmers on USMCA. In 2024, Canada retained tariffs on various U.S. goods, particularly in protected sectors like dairy that are operated under a supply management system. Some examples of Canadian tariffs on U.S. dairy outside of the limited quota include milk up to 243%. We're talking about tariffs, guys. Butter, 298%. Cheese, 245%. So these sky-high tariffs are part of Canada's unfair, long-standing policy to shield domestic producers from foreign competition. Again, this is what Trump is talking about. We Americans always get screwed over when it comes to the tariffs coming towards us, but as soon as we do anything, what happens? Everybody starts freaking out. Oh, Trump is doing this and Trump wants a trade war. It's like, do you not realize, do you not know the numbers and the data? Because we're getting screwed over every single day. And this is what Trump is bringing out and letting everybody know. There's a lot that's happening behind the scenes, guys, that a lot of people are hearing for the very first time, but they need to hear it because, again, for the politicians in Washington have allowed us to get to this point of being screwed over. Check this out.
Short of a disaster for the Democrat Party, the Looney Tunes backing the right of men to pummel female athletes, with 0 Senate Democrats voting to protect women's sports. Then came the most embarrassing bingo night in history as they refused to stand up for a kid with cancer during Trump's speech. And don't even get me started on those cringe-worthy videos. The Trump White House is mocking that god-awful choose your fighter travesty. Democratic opposition to President Trump. The Times breaks it down into 4 categories: compromisers, resistors, lawyers, and pragmatists. Gavin Newsom is trying to go to the compromiser group by rebuffing the Democrats on transgender athletes and women's sports. But did his party back him up? Of course not.
What is your response to that after Democrats had opposed the women and girls in sports?
I haven't seen his comments. What Democrats opposed was unleashing sexual predators on girls throughout the United States of America.
If that's what he thinks is going to win him the presidential election, if he actually did say that in that way, then I'm really disappointed.
And Frank Luntz is warning that the left is going to be worse off if they side with cane-shaking losers like Al Green.
They've been asking the Democrats now since the beginning of this administration, what is your alternative? As critical as I am of Trump's communication, the Democrats are much worse. That for them, there is no policy, there's only opposition.
Jesse, there is no policy, there's only opposition. And my understanding is House Leadership Jeffries actually reprimanded those fighters in that video and asked them to be more dignified. In fact, before that speech before the joint session.
Yeah, who are they fighting? The guy that got shot? The guy with a mugshot? Or, you know, Linda McMahon will body slam you. Sebastian Gorka will kill you with his mustache. I mean, you go down the list. Pete Hegseth has literally killed people. So I don't think they should be fighting anybody right now. But you're right. I used to admire the Democrats, Judge, because they had such great discipline. They were always on message. They never criticized each other.
True.
And now they don't have it because they don't have any leadership. Barack doesn't want to get his hands dirty anymore. That backfired. Joe's disgraced. Nancy broke her hip. She took a seat. And Hakeem instills no fear. Like, Nancy scares people. Hakeem scares nobody. So now the Democrats are on their own, and they're trying to find out what to do by listening to the media. And the media tells them like 6 different things. One day they tell them, play possum. The next day they say, fight harder. So they don't know what to do. Most of the people in the press that they usually listen to have been fired or retired. So now for the first time, they have to figure out who they are by themselves. They used to just like do a CNN hit, say Russia, say Trump's racist, and go home. You know, they would get fed lines. They would get told how to vote. Now they have to figure it out all by themselves. Republicans know what to do because we've had to go around this media machine. We've had to go directly to the voters. We write our own tweets. They do their own podcasts, radio. They're used to kind of formulating and defending their policies. Democrats, not only don't they know how to defend the policies, they don't even know what the policies are. Half the party is like on the trans side. Half the party is like, I don't think that's smart. This is going to be such a tough stretch for this party because they have to figure out how to win back in the midterms. Then they have to figure out how to govern seriously. And then they have to figure out how to nominate a presidential person in a primary where they're just going to be, it's like identity politics bumper cars.
And the White House came out with their own video of fighters, from the president to J.D. Vance to, you know, Pete Hegseth, everyone doing their own real job. It wasn't performative. You know, and from the president to J.D. Vance to, you know, Pete Hegseth, everyone doing their own real job. It wasn't performative, you know, and it's like such a difference between the left and the right where the symbolism was so stark. I mean, you know, the others were fake fighters, and the president showed his team and his cabinet to be real fighters on the issues that they've been appointed to deal with.
And I think it gets to one of those struggles that Democrats have right now, which is this question of authenticity, because the fighter videos and the one with them all cussing, saying the exact same script, it felt very performative, as you said. And what young people want is authentic. You saw them come over to President Trump. He speaks sometimes rough around the edges, but they love him because he says what he means. He's authentic, and they bought it. I mean, these videos feel a little cringe. One young person said to me, ick, I think is the word now that the youngsters are using, that it just didn't feel organic to them at all. And they want authenticity. I think that's why they felt welcomed over into the Republican Party. President Trump will credit Barron, saying, he told me, he gave me a pulse on what was authentic, and young people wanted to hear from Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan, and President Trump willing to go to all those places has a much different impact than these weird videos that even some Democrats find cringe.
All right, Greg, what do you think about the 4 categories, the compromise, resistor, pragmatist, lawyers? Can they get together on a message?
I don't know. I mean, if the Democrats are facing a fork in the road, it probably belongs to Governor Pritzker. I don't think there's fork die rather than change, but they're operating in an illusion where they think they're winning. They think that their activist drama still exerts control or power over the American people when in fact it's only a tiny group of activists. They're basically they've got guns and they're shooting blanks. Nobody buys it. Actually makes their adversaries, Republicans or Trump, look better by acting the way they do. They're paralyzed by the sunk cost of all these years, you know, pushing terrible policies. You don't want to let it go because you look better by acting the way they do. They're paralyzed by the sunk cost of all these years, you know, pushing terrible, which prevent them from saying, oops. You know, people, the winners can say, oops. You know, everybody admits in your plane, they're a hijacker on your plane. And that hijacker is not going to have a change of heart. You know, oppression politics, identity politics is an ideology. It prevents in your plane. They're a hijacker on your plane. And that hijacker is not going to have a change of heart. You know, oppression politics, identity politics is an ideology. It prevents you from changing your mind. So you need to charge the cockpit and toss them out. You actually do need to split the Democratic Party. Let the freaks start their own, you know, everything, which is hard because the foundation has been cultural issues for so long under the rubric of identity politics and oppression politics. So the party is in a death spiral. And it's going to keep going because all you got to look at is the other areas where there's identity politics. There are three: academia, Hollywood, Democratic Party. If you look at Hollywood, you look at academia, you're seeing that it's inside them and they can't get it out. It spreads, it's a tumor, it's feasting on the host. If Hollywood can't get it out, if academia is stuck with it forever, you're seeing that it's...
Guys, and that's the thing. Remember I told you, 92% of professors in the colleges are all Democratic. And what did he just say? It's like the Democratic Party is splitting. The old school Democratic Party is wanting to be this new progressive left-wing, you know, woke. And then I promise you, there's going to be a new party that emerges because they want a rebranding. The Democratic Party right now is losing so much, they can't resonate with people. We had a fake president and people saw it. They were gaslit, they saw the truth, and now they look, the Democratic Party has a stain on it that is really, really, really bad. And right now, guys, check this out. Manufacturing jobs, Biden versus Trump. Monthly, Biden average literally lost 9,000 jobs per month. Trump, February, 10,000 plus manufacturing jobs. And the best part about it is that Trump is now getting more native-born worker jobs and foreign workers are losing jobs. The growth is not there. And under Biden, it was the exact opposite. Americans were losing jobs and foreign workers were getting jobs. It made no sense. It was an America Last policy, but again, we know that Biden wasn't really the president. And guys, if you're loving this like me, if you don't mind doing us a favor and smashing that thumbs up like button, thank you so much. The big part of all this is that we're bringing the truth out, and it's so blatantly obvious to everybody that even people that normally, I'm talking about independents and moderates, that normally went to the left Democratic side, they're like, dang, the Democrats are so bad, we can't be aligned with them anymore. And this is where we are growing the United States in the right direction. Check this out.
As contributor. Newt, I know there's a lot of things we can talk about, but I kind of have Scott Bessent on my mind. He spoke very well today at the New York Economics Club. After his speech, I had a chance to interview him, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm thinking growth, Newt, growth. This is not a new subject with us, but it's an important subject with us. And it sometimes gets lost in further discussions. And just to start out, the difference between 3% growth for the next 10 years and 1.8% growth is about $3 trillion of extra money. And Newt, that would be private sector extra money under the Trump policies, which are ending big government socialism. I mean, to me, I'd like to see that number ventilated and put out there because that is a massive number. And that shows you that, and that number will go to middle-class pocketbooks and wallets, Newt. Let me just add that and then turn it over to you.
Well, look, the key to a successful America is to have us grow an economy which outproduces anybody else in the world.
Yes.
We've done it before. We're capable of doing it. We have a huge resource base. We have an extraordinary population of people. And we are far and away the most inventive country in the world. You know, of the 19 companies that have $1 trillion annual revenue, 14 are American, 4 are Chinese, and the last one is Saudi Aramco. So the Europeans chose regulation over innovation, and they have stagnated ever since. If we can pass this spring, and I was very encouraged by your interview with Senator Kennedy, if we can pass the big, beautiful bill, get taxes down, get regulations down, get it done by May or June at the very latest, you will see a boom next year.
Let's go.
You'll see companies piling into this country. You'll see investments with all the things going on in new technologies. I just recently visited a factory called Divergent, which literally can reduce costs by somewhere between 40 and 70%. It's the most advanced factory on the planet. And the Pentagon, if it uses it, will be able to take billions out of their budget while actually producing weapons faster and getting inside the cycle time of Chinese development. So we leapfrog them. So there's so many good things coming down the road that if we will focus on making America the fastest growing, most desirable place to invest, the place where you want to come to build your next factory, to launch your next company, to hire people. I think that we could enter what President Trump called a golden age.
You know, the next factory point, Newt, let me just hang on to that. I didn't know this. Now, at the speech on Tuesday night, Trump's speech, which was a fabulous speech, but he said that the 100% expensing of machinery and equipment would be retroactive to January 20th. Now, listen, here's what Scott Besson said today. Scott Besson said today at the Economics Club speech that factory building would be 100% expensing, retroactive to January 20th. Not apartment houses, okay, not shopping centers, but if you build a new factory, and you're going to get the 100% expensing, and you probably would get the 15% made in America tax rate, that will be fully expensed and written off retroactively, Newt. Wow. That's fabulous. I didn't know that. That just slipped out in the Scott Besson thing today.
That's amazing, guys.
Well, let me tell you an example of learning from history. As you'll remember, in the 1981 tax cut, that didn't go into effect till January of 1983.
Right.
So 82, we have a deeper recession because everybody's waiting to get the tax break the next year. These guys are very smart about the kind of incentives, and you've seen it, by the way, when you look at the number of companies that have already announced that they're going to invest in America. The first couple of weeks of the Trump administration, I have no doubt that by the end of this year, if we can get the bill passed by May or June, you will see literally trillions of dollars of commitment to new factories, new jobs, new opportunities, higher incomes, much safer pensions, and frankly, an ability to pay for Social Security for the foreseeable future. You get up to 3% plus growth, you solve a lot of problems.
I know. It's like a secret weapon, but it's so darn important. The other thing, Newt, that's so important, that's different this time, is the emphasis on ending big government socialism, okay? It may start with Elon Musk. It's running through Trump. It's running through Scott Besson. It's running through Russell Vought at OMB and Kevin Hassett at the NEC. I mean, the big government socialism, which strangled and smothered the economy for 4 years and made everybody glum and dismal, they're trying to get rid of that. You know, rescission authority and budget authority and you name it. This is hugely important because that will free up resources for your technological revolution.
Well, and remember, you have an entire cabinet that is the most entrepreneurial, the most success-oriented, and the most achievement-oriented cabinet in history. Every single one of those cabinet officers understands where Trump wants to go. They want to go there with him. And so you're going to have really aggressive, solid cabinet secretaries who are going to work as partners with Musk, not competitors. And together, they're going to dramatically reshape the government of the United States into a more decentralized, smaller, more efficient, and dramatically less fraud-ridden. This is an amazing historic moment.
Right.
It is, guys, because guess what just broke that's literally going to make you laugh your head off, guys? Guess who just got tariffs, 100% tariffs imposed upon them? Guess, guys. Just guess. Just guess. Take a second. All right. China has imposed 100% tariffs on select Canadian imports. Guys, wow. Let me tell you this, guys. Canada is gonna... This is not by chance. This is not by accident. I think Trump had a conversation and said, hey, China, You want those 10%? You want 20% tariffs? I need you to help me with Canada because we already own them anyway. Let's go ahead and kind of squeeze them. Guys, this is nuts. Like, holy moly. 100% tariffs? Trudeau is literally crying right now. You cannot make this up. Holy smokes. But guys, again, too, we know that Trump is playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. And when you do this, this is what happens because I promise you, Trudeau, I bet you anything, he had no idea that this was coming. And then the Democrats have nothing to say. Check this out.
And ponytails didn't scare anyone. Try guitar.
Well, this is a song for all of those dreamers. We're looking for answers to come our way.
All right, that's just bad. That's just pathetic.
Doctors, students, all seekers, sharing
the blues. They're going to need a whole band.
This little light of mine.
Oh my goodness.
Let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little
Come on, y'all. We got to get past this.
I'm gonna let it shine. Let it.
Oh, God. Were those bubble guns? Did you see that? They were bubble guns. Insiders think the party's lost its way, and their response is, let's start a band and shoot some bubbles. Guess it's better than whatever this is.
Guys, if you're enjoying this, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
Yo, this is the Ranking Rizzler on appropriations, serving
The
Connecticut's
Ranking
3rd
Rizzler.
District. It's time to enter your dark academia Congress era.
Democrats said choose your fighter.
Sorry, guys. The reason I skipped that is because anytime there's like music in the background, I can get copyrighted and they'll take down my video. So I have to skip it. So hopefully, yeah, guys, if you could show me some grace on that.
And they chose 80-year-olds with canes, cracked hips, and banjos. Even Jimmy Kimmel's embarrassed.
Yeah, we're not going to stand back and take it anymore. We're going to fight. What is that supposed to do besides embarrass everyone involved with it? You know, maybe I'll look into getting a medically induced coma for the next 4 years. Just wait and sleep it out.
I'd take 4 years off, too, if this who I was fighting.
What? Let's go. Man, that's amazing. Yeah.
Right through traffic. That's about it. One congressman says this, there's no question that somewhere between 6 and a dozen of my colleagues are at a point where I don't think they have the faculties to do their job. He just said there's a dozen Joe Bidens in Congress. Some of them want to be dancers. Some of them want to be tough guys.
Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they call me a criminal. They call me a traitor. Their MAGA minions online come after me to try to intimidate me, to create fear. I'll tell you my response. My response to that is screw you and the horse you rode in on.
Dang.
Schiff was censured too. Breaking the rules for them is a badge of honor. Democrats are jockeying with each other to see who could be the loudest hooligan. Weird Al Green, who must be colorblind because Schiff's pasty white, says the only reason he got censured was because he was black.
I had to sit in the back of the bus, the balcony of the movie, drink from a colored water fountain when the speaker decided that I would be removed. And then there was this motion, this resolution to censure me. It became obvious to me that I was not being treated as others were.
Wow.
And candidly speaking, it is invidious discrimination.
Weird Al's so famous, he took his ponytail to TMZ. Watch.
The president that evening called the Democratic members of Congress lunatics on national TV. The president called them lunatics. He did so, and he has not been reprimanded. He won't be censured. He uses incivility to take advantage of our civility.
Hakeem's been telling Al to quiet down, but Al's not listening. He's only getting louder and louder, and Hakeem's fuming. Democrats are asking, would they have done that to Nancy? You know the answer. Never. When Nancy said shut it down, Democrats listened. Hakeem's been privately sitting down Democrats for come to Jesus meetings, but he won't even raise his voice at them. They're not being talked to like they're children. You got to treat these Democrats like they're kids. It's the only way they're going to grow up. You got to be firm. They don't respect Hakeem, and now it's a free-for-all.
Who is the leader of the Democratic Party right now?
Well, I got into trouble because I said to Mehdi Hassan on Zateo that we are leaderless. And I don't mean that we don't have leaders of the House and the Senate, but we don't have a presidential candidate. We don't have a clear answer of who that person is going to be for the next presidential election. We've lost, we have a new leader in the House. And so I think that it is difficult right now for the Democratic Party because we don't have a clear, defined leader.
Democrats have no leadership and no one's stepping up. They're all just singing, dancing, and swearing. And no one even knows what for.
For them, there is no policy. There's only opposition. Obviously, I reach out to both parties in conversation in doing my job, and I hear nothing from the Democratic Party in communicating a coherent agenda, in communicating a coherent message.
Democrats are just the opposition now. So when Trump stands for popular things that the country wants, the Democrats stand against it, and then they become more unpopular. It's a bottomless pit. They're all going down together.
They're like trying to sort it out.
Bro, it's
like
so funny
they
when they
support
try to
each
solve the
other, they
problem.
go on each other's shows, and they're all in this together. Well, we need that on the left. Like, good luck.
Yeah,
you
that's
guys cancel each other if your Ukraine flag is too small.
Yeah. 6 by 6.
Yeah, you talk about each other for not having trans kids. You
Yeah.
guys are out of your mind. You're not gonna sync up together. You're in a suicide cult.
That is insane.
All this advice Democrats are getting is worthless. Post videos, drop podcasts, fight, sue, play possum. Not one person's told the Democrats, listen.
You can't talk down to people. There's this like Ivy League pretentiousness in the Democratic Party, I feel, where they're like, we know better, and just, you must be stupid if you don't agree with us. And it's like, all right, well, I'm stupid. I'm dumb.
Yeah.
I'm dumb then. So why doesn't somebody meet me where I'm stupid and start at least making me feel like I'm not
Joe Conch is a Fox News contributor, and Dan Turrentine
Guys,
is a
let me
former
tell you
Democrat.
this. This is what we're seeing now is the exposure of, I don't think it's just the Democratic Party, guys. Listen, check this out. I think it's literally all of the politicians in Washington, D.C. Doesn't matter if you're Republican, doesn't matter if you're Democrat. Everybody is getting exposed in Washington, D.C. over all this. Thought they were up here. They couldn't be touched. They were going to have their ways. They were going to have their slush money funds. And now, with the right people, like Trump, like Elon Musk, these disruptors come in and are able to influence enough people to show people the truth that the people in Washington, D.C. weren't really for the American people. They were for themselves. That's why we're $36 trillion in debt. That's why there's so much lobbyists. That's why we have so many tariffs on us from other countries, but we don't have tariffs on them. It's all a big game that the Democrats have finally lost and been exposed. Mr. Tracy J. Norby, let's go. He said, boy, maybe Adam Schiff needs to go to Neverland, and Al Green will be censured, and Pelosi, I hope, loses her liquor license at the Washington Capitol. Send them all there. Make room for Daddy. DJT will end them all. Let's go. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. I love it, guys. That's awesome. So, Trump posted this, guys. Again, there's full transparency. Whenever Biden posted, it was never really a post. It was always just like a campaign slogan. Trump says, based on the fact that Russia is absolutely pounding Ukraine on the battlefield right now, I am strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement agreement on peace is reached. To Russia and Ukraine, get to the table right now before it is too late. Thank you. Isn't he so polite, guys? Thank you so much, Mr. Norby, again for the super chat. Said Democrats are saying the sky is falling. sky is falling or cry wolf Democrats. Hey, they are. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. And you know what? They've gaslit the American people too much. The left-wing media has lied to the people too much. And now everybody sees it. And thank God, because I'm telling you this, guys. If we didn't have X, if Elon Musk wouldn't have spent $44 billion on that platform, God knows where we would be at. But check this out.
How many times have we had this conversation? Like, I thought we were done with this. I thought colleges got the memo that protests were not going to be tolerated. Well, as you can see, they didn't get the memo. And they want to believe, or they at least want you and I to believe, that these things are like somehow organically gathered students protesting on campus. They're not. In fact, Barnard College here in New York, a lot of these folks don't even attend the school campuses that they're arrested on. Today, the White House announced the deportation of the first student on an educational visa linked to these Hamas protests on college campuses. All right. Getting somewhere. They haven't told us who it was yet, but the State Department did confirm that they are gone. Also today, the Trump administration announced it's now going to withhold $400 million from Columbia University for failing to quell the takeover of school buildings by these protesters. And just like that, all of a sudden, like they expelled 4 kids pending a disciplinary action. Weird how that $400 million really talked, huh? I mean, like, what did you expect? Name me one thing Trump hasn't followed through with. Education Secretary Linda McMahon said Friday, quote, universities must comply with all federal anti-discrimination laws if they're going to receive federal funding. For too long, Columbia has abandoned that obligation to Jewish students studying on its campus. For the first time in my life, I think, the DOE just did something right. All last year, we had like some of America's most prestigious universities just allowing kids. These are kids. They're taking over buildings, sometimes violently. They're breaking stuff. They shut people down from going to classes. And Trump had had enough. He said this.
We will deport the foreign jihad sympathizers, and we will deport them very quickly, and Hamas supporters will be gone.
Yeah, basically, you elect me, these shenanigans are over. And generally, I think our education system actually in its entirety is pretty much a scam, especially college. Look, I don't have a college degree because when I got out of the military, I took one semester and realized, wow, the fundamental structure of the entire educational pipeline is completely misplaced on its priorities. These Hamas protests they're just the symptom of the larger problem. And sometime between when I was a kid to now, we went from teaching kids how to launch rockets into space, cure rare diseases, outcompete other nations. Heck, we used to teach kids how to do their own laundry, change a car tire and a battery, or do their own taxes even. We used to teach them cursive and long division and multiplication tables, like useful stuff. Now we have Common Core math that takes 4 times as long to do. Home ec has been completely deemed sexist. Wood shop has been banned, and they've replaced actual gym class with like the lowest common denominator for the least athletic kid in there. And the latest fad in this unofficial major is activism, with the pro-terrorist being the latest flavor. And the Department of Education, via student loans, that they will literally hand to anyone, has in part funded and even facilitated this. Look, I hate the Department of Education. Since its inception back in 1980, Jimmy Carter, we've gone from, number 1 in education to like 40-something. Yeah. We have less applicable majors, less critical thinking, and more activism of which these universities just seem to sit idly by and allow these kids to do whatever they want on campus. In fact, there's not a single metric that anyone can point to. There's not a single line item that anyone has been able to point to and say, hey, Carl, this is what the Department of Education has made better. They may have made colleges better off from an administrative standpoint because they're getting funding, but they've given kids unfettered access to take out huge loans. They may have funded all kinds of programs that never could have been funded otherwise, probably for a reason. But this huge flow of money from the Department of Education has taken away the core principles of education and what college is for, which is to get a job. 25% of kids graduating high school today, many headed into these universities right now, are functionally illiterate.
Dang.
The reading proficiency rate in America, 4th graders are at 31%, 8th graders at 30%, 12th graders at 37%, and we keep feeding this machine. Have you noticed, though, that the more we put into this budget, the further it strays? I mean, it's unbelievable. The DOE's original budget was $14.2 billion. They had $6.5 billion for elementary and secondary education, $4.5 billion for higher education, largely Pell Grants and student loans. My, that is bloated. $1 billion for handicap education, and another $800 million for vocational and adult education. Here's the real kicker. In its original inception, the administrative costs were not to exceed $200 million for staffing and operations with 3,400 employees. That has quadrupled today. They have nearly $800 million just in payroll and benefits. And there's some overhead line items in there. They don't actually educate a single child. Think about that. Not one. They don't teach a single class. They just give money to other people to run crazy agendas, oftentimes that are completely unaccounted for. Their total budget is now $175 billion with over 5,000 employees. And with all those people, they couldn't find one person, not one person in that agency over the last year to stop the funding of this type of anarchy. Not one of those people before Trump thought, hey, man, we should defund these colleges for allowing students to run around campus calling Trump supporters Nazis while covering their faces, keeping Jewish students from attending classes. That's why I want to get rid of this place. It's like the irony on campus here. Clearly, none of that money we were giving them was going to a history class.
Wow.
Keep in mind, the average employee at the Department of Education makes $110,000 a year. Again, they don't teach anybody anything.
Oh, man, guys. Do y'all hear this? Remember, Trump said he wants to completely dismantle the Department of Education and then just give the money. Like, we spent $175 billion, just give it back to the state. So I'd say save $75 billion and give $100 billion to the states, but $110,000 average salary and you don't even teach anybody. Wow. That's almost double what the average American citizen makes. And why do you think all these people want these government federal jobs?
Only in the United States government could you get paid almost double the median salary of America to facilitate colleges that have wannabe terrorists running around and breaking stuff. Did you know Columbia, with a $14.8 billion growing endowment, it's tax-free, by the way. They're not paying any taxes on that. Not only should we stop funding them, we should take their nonprofit status because of this stuff. You can go down the list. All these places also had similar protests. They were keeping Jewish kids out of classes last year. Colleges, massive endowments. $53.2 billion at Harvard. Their president, Claudine Gay, even refused to acknowledge these anti-Jewish protests were even happening. And the university didn't do anything until their donors cut off their donations. $41.5 billion at Yale, $34.1 billion at Princeton, $21 billion at the University of Pennsylvania, $13.3 billion at Columbia University. Yet all of those universities, as I just mentioned, received a cumulative $5.2 billion in federal funding last year. Why?
Wow.
It doesn't even include the lost revenue to the taxpayer by allowing them to be that nonprofit. So cutting $400 million seems like a great, easy way to start for me. I don't care what it's for. I would argue that if there is any need for federal government in our education system, specifically colleges, it would be on pricing. These colleges charge increasingly more every year. Like undergrad now costs like $250 grand, while places like Yale have more administrators than undergrads. And not one of those administrators was able to keep kids safe on campus. One girl over there got hit in the face with a flagpole just trying to go to class. Academia has become this like self-perpetuated, bloated monster. These kids protesting, if they even go to that college, don't seem to me to be going there to get a degree in anything serious. Maybe they're to major in like philosophy or gender studies or whatever, but these kids today are not doing college properly because we've allowed them to not do it that way. They're going to these colleges and being taught and even encouraged to protest whatever the flavor of the day is. This is just the latest one. And they're getting paid by money coming out of our pockets, our hard-earned paychecks. So if these universities want to teach kids about the real world, fine, okay? Like, do whatever you want, but do it without my money. And if they need to raise tuition, great. I hope they do. And I hope these parents are like, hey, dude, I'm not paying for that anymore. If they're going to teach you to hate America, forget about it.
Ain't that the
This
truth?
is the reckoning time of this unaccountable.
Guys, that is the truth if you've ever heard it. You're going to, like, because again, too, guys, Democrats, remember, America's the enemy. For some reason, we're the bad people. And that's what these Democrat teachers have been teaching them, and our taxpayer dollars have been funding it. $2.5 billion of LA homeless crisis money can't be tracked. This is an investigation that is starting because a lot of this money was federal money, guys. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, all these people, they're now looking into California over this $2.5 billion that was supposed to go to homeless people. But now they don't know where the heck it went to. $2.5 billion. You cannot make this stuff up, guys. Like, it kind of breaks my heart sometimes when I have to report stuff like this, because we got seniors trying to live on $900 Social Security, and yet the administration of whoever gives billions of dollars to a state with no accountability whatsoever. This is so sickening, guys. But again, this is why DOGE is so important. Thank you so much, Mr. Norby, for the super chat. He said, thank you for your support. To the family here, love goes a heck of a long way. I love it. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love. And Sherry Garcia, who said, I say no one should have to walk through those protesting crowds, rent a space and invite people to hear you rant, but get out of my face. 100%. Guys, I'm telling you this. Those colleges, with all that dang money that they get, should have hired security, should have had, even if you have to call police, to protect their students. But instead they said, no, just go home and don't come to class. When these people are paying $70,000 to $80,000 a year to go to these elite colleges. It's all a scam, guys. It's all an agenda. Y'all show Sherry some love in the chat, guys. Thank y'all so much for watching. To all of our subscribers, thank you so much. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind doing us a favor of clicking that thumbs up like button, we are so grateful for your support. Want to say thank you to all of our members of the channel. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join. And don't forget our other channel, TrueLife Breaking News, on short form content. The link is in the description to go and join that channel. But want to give some love to Josie, Queen of Yeshua, Sweetie, Elizabeth Rancor, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Virginia Friday, Sherry Garcia. Guys, y'all show them some love in the chat. It's such a wonderful week, guys. The winning keeps happening, and we're going to keep reporting it. We're here to serve you every day, Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. We love you, appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.